Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I understand. I know it's late. It's very late. But hello, Mr. Lena. Hello. Hello, friends. Thanks for joining. This topic tonight can go a couple different ways. In particularly, perhaps I want to talk about something that I witnessed today. It just really bothered me. And I'm pretty good about letting things go, but sometimes I'm not, because people have the tendency to give advice and say things to people without consciously thinking about it and thinking about the effects of their words. So sometimes you can say things and perhaps say something that that person has been waiting for someone else to say to them, and then you just give them the go ahead to do something that's already in their heart that they know it's wrong, but they feel like you've given them the okay because you're a credible source, or you appear to be a credible source. For those of you who have joined me, this is conversation. Like I said, is about. It can go two ways. I want to go talk about the, I guess the spiritual way, and the only reason why I say that, of course, in the natural, you can ruin somebody's life. A woman can ruin another lady's life. But this in particular, I heard a pastor today tell a woman to blatantly, disrespect her husband, to give him an ultimatum earlier today. And I thought, is he serious? Like, I'm a believer that if you're in a marriage, there's an order in marriage. I know everyone don't believe that, and that's cool. That's okay. It's your personal beliefs and what you believe. And I'm cool with that. I never try to debate people on what they believe, because it's a choice. It's your opinion. That's you. I accept what you like, what you want, what you believe in. And I hope you would do the same for me. But on today, I'm just going through Periscope, and I get a notification from one of my followers. And there's a lady that asked this pastor, her and her husband apparently was going to a different church, maybe going to the same church, and she was ready to leave and he wasn't. And she was like, basically, what do I do? And I swear, he gave the worst advice ever. Like, it was so frustrating, because as a leader or person who is in a position of authority, people are hanging on to your every word, and they expect you to give them truth. But I just don't think he thought the question through before he gave her the advice. He basically told her to give her husband, to pray for her husband, which she says she did. But he basically told her to give him an ultimatum. You tell him in so many days or so many weeks, I'm going to let you pray to God about it. And if you don't get the same conclusion that I've come to, then I'm leaving. I got a problem with that. You just ruined this woman's marriage, because now she feels like she's got fuel. She's got somebody behind her to say, well, so, this pastor told me it was okay for me to leave you, for me to go where I want to go. Basically, his reason for that was because her soul is more important than the relationship. No, not necessarily. You don't have to hang on to if you're in a church or assembly where you're not spiritually growing. She was on Periscope. Okay. So that means she has internet access. You can tune into anybody's church service nowadays where you feel comfortable. You don't actually have to be sitting in the congregation, do you? When he was talking about she has to work out her own soul with fear and trembling. Read your own Bible, boo. Get on the internet and catch up with somebody else. You mean to tell me that you are willing to cause strife in your home because of where you sit in church? You can go, if that's where your husband, your leader, your provider the man you chose, if he decides he's not ready to go, and you're a woman who, if you're in church, you should understand submission. If you're a woman who has decided that you are submitting yourself to his authority, you don't give him an ultimatum because you want to go somewhere else. If you said you've been praying and he hasn't gotten the revelation yet, well, you keep praying, because God probably already gave you the answer. It just wasn't the answer that you wanted. I'm sure God's not going to tell you, look here, chick, he ain't doing right. So me and you, outside of him, we got this plan. I'm telling you, it's okay for you to go wherever you want to go. Never mind what he says or thinks, okay? You know, that's your husband. I know you're supposed to submit yourself. Now I'm God talking right now, you know. You're supposed to submit yourself, but since he won't get it right, you can go wherever you want to go. No, boo. No. No, 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 no. It does not work like that. Before I ask him, because I just want to say I respect you 100%. You got me agreeing. Well, thank you, Lena. I appreciate that. I just have a problem with bad advice, especially if you are a leader. You are someone, this guy has thousands of followers. Now, just imagine there are, out of those thousands of followers, say he's got 10,000 followers. 1,000, no, I'm not. I'm not at all a feminist. But out of 10,000 followers, 1,000 of them think exactly the same. There's 1,000 women who feel like their husbands. Okay, no problem. I don't have a problem with you asking me that. But thanks for asking. But out of those 10,000 women, 1,000 of those women think exactly the same. They really, their husbands aren't doing really what they want them to do, so they want to do something else, and they're just waiting on somebody to agree with them. They're waiting on the okay to say, finally, somebody agrees, I'm out. Finally, somebody agrees, and I can do what I want to do. It does not work like that. When God says to work out your soul with fear and trembling, this is if you say that you're a Christian or you're a believer or whatever you are in your religion, you have the opportunity to do that outside of this church. If you're not growing spiritually in that church, fine. That doesn't mean that you cannot grow. It just means that we're in that particular place, that particular building, under that particular leadership, you're not growing, but you still have a husband. And if you decide to leave, that's conflict in your home. How are you going to handle that? You just going to leave him altogether? Come on now. Let's think logically about this. I was in a church. When I moved to Texas, I started going to a church. Great church, diverse, older, younger. It was just wonderful place. But about 7 years later, it kind of plateaued. And I was like, oh my God, I feel stagnated in this place. So I prayed. 2 years later, two years later, God showed me where I should go. But during those 2 years, I had to sit there in that, it was like a lake with no wind blowing on it, no fresh water coming in, no water going out, and algae growing. Okay, so that's what it was like. But I understood that this doesn't determine my relationship with God. This place, I have the ability to read for myself. I have the ability to seek out resources for myself. I have the ability to communicate with other people who are like-minded. Being in that building does not stop me from growing in my relationship with God, and it shouldn't stop her. I mean, the truth of the matter is she really wants to go somewhere else. She wants to be disobedient. And when I say disobedient, I mean with God, and to be rebellious against her husband. If you are a believer and you understand the Bible, when the Bible says, how can two people walk together except they're in agreement? Tell me how that's going to work out for you if you decide to leave your husband because you want to go to another church. Pick one. There's thousands of them on the internet. You know, you don't want to be watching it while you're up in service with him, but you honor him by going with him because that's what he wants to be. You married him. You made that choice. You did that. Now you're unhappy with a decision that he made. Guess what? Any decision that he makes for the family is on him. It's not your responsibility to take that decision. If he is a follower of Christ and you are a follower of him, then he is the head. He has made the decision. And if he is wrong, that's on him. You are not responsible for his decisions. Okay? Let's just go back to the beginning with Adam and Eve. Yes, I do think they could have come to some type of compromise, but I think the main part was exactly they could pick a new church together. Perhaps there was something keeping him there, loyalty. It could have been anything, but sometimes people always say they're praying, God's given them an answer, but they haven't given the other person an answer. That's crazy. Like, God's not going to tell me something and not tell my husband like it's a secret. We're one. You know what I'm saying? We are one. So if he shares something with me, he's going to share it with him too. We're one. So he's not going to be like, yo, we out of this piece. No, he don't do that. He doesn't do that. He's going to share it with both of us, and if my husband has gotten the message, but he's like, you know what? Yeah, I heard that, but I'm not doing it. That's a different story. He's still responsible for those actions. It is just, let me see. It is just crazy to me that someone would give that type of advice that will separate a family and cause division in a house. And you would use scripture to say it. And he also said that, when we get to heaven or whatever, we're not married. Okay, but we ain't in heaven right now. We on earth and we about to have some serious issues. We about to have some real issues in this household when this woman go to her husband and say, look, you got 2 weeks to figure out what you gonna do. If you don't come up with the answer I think you should have, and my answer is we leaving. If you don't come to that conclusion, then I'm going to do what I want to do. Now, I just wish this pastor would have thought about, what if somebody said this to your wife? What if your wife was like, you know what? I'm tired of being the first lady. I just want to go somewhere and sit down and listen. And you like, you can't do that. But then another pastor say, you know what? I understand. My wife was in the same position. You go ahead and you leave. You tell him, you talk to God. You got 2 weeks to figure it out, and I'm leaving. Hey, pastor, you want somebody telling your wife that? I don't think so. It just bothers me that someone would give that type of advice that has the potential to ruin a marriage. Because in her heart, she has already left. She just need a cosigner. Basically, that's it. She just wanted a cosigner, and she got one from somebody in an authoritative position where she can go to her husband and say, well, this pastor said, that was her muscle. I'm certain that God had already told her to obey her husband. Just like I was listening to another pastor maybe last week, and he was talking about the situation with Sarah and Haggai. Now, Sarah, out of anxiousness, had her midwife or her handmaid sleep with her husband and get a baby. Well, she got a little jealous after a while, because I'm sure Haggai was like, ooh, hey, Abraham, come here, little Ishmael. What you doing? She was flaunting that child all up in Sarah's face because she knew she couldn't have a child. Sarah told her to get out. She was like, hey, since I don't curse no more, let me think of a good word. She was like, I don't mean this in an argument way, but I just want to discuss one thing. That's okay. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. I know it might take some time to type, so I'll just keep talking, okay, if you don't mind. But with the situation with Sarah and Hagar, Sarah told Hagar to leave. This is the thing as when it comes to women and men being equal. The two were one. The best way I can describe, when he created man and woman in Genesis, he said, when he created man and woman, let me see. I'm trying to remember it exactly. I paraphrase scripture so that I can remember it. Man and woman created we them. He and she created we them. Something to that effect. Man was created first, right? Do you agree with that? If you're a believer in the Bible, man was created first. He was formed first in the earth, right? And then the woman was formed after the man, right? So physically, let's just look at the physical aspects of men and women, right? Right, a helper, right? Why did Adam need a helper, right? Everything he had around him was producing and reproducing, right? Adam didn't have a way to produce or reproduce. He had authority over all the earth, and he also had, he could see the fruits of his labor. Not that he didn't have to work hard at it. He was able to take care of the earth. There was plants, there was animals. So he had authority. All these things before man was made, God said, be fruitful and multiply, right? Everything had to multiply, be fruitful and multiply. But how was Adam going to multiply? He had no way of doing that without a woman, right? So he had to be able to reproduce. If it was just him, right? He was the only human on the earth. So he could not reproduce himself in the earth. Just like God said, we made man in our image and in our likeness, right? So Adam could not reproduce his image or his likeness because he had no way of doing that. God created for. Okay. Yeah, I agree that they needed each other. But also when Eve sinned, why didn't God come to her? Because she committed the sin first, right? And then Adam committed the sin, and then God didn't go to. Oh, I don't, honey, please. It's hard. It's hard to offend me. So, I've had many conversations, many types of ways. So I would, if any way I could help you, I would love to. I like to have conversations about the Bible. I just don't argue it with people because people can get so heated and so passionate about what they believe. I just state what I believe, and you take it or leave it. But when it comes to, when you read about Adam and Eve partook of the fruit first, right? And when the serpent says, the day you eat thereof, you will surely die. Well, nothing happened right away to Eve, right? Yeah, I love what you said at the start. We all have different beliefs, but must respect one another. Yeah, that's what I believe that, I don't believe that you should try to force someone to believe what you believe. You can state what you believe, and if they agree, great. If they don't, okay. The idea of trying to force someone to believe something, now that I have a problem with, because you can't, if somebody tried to force me to marry a certain type of person, I would have a problem with that. If somebody tried to force me to eat watermelon, which I don't like, I would have a problem with that. if somebody tried to force me to live in a certain place, I would have a problem with that. It's a matter, God gave us choices. He don't even force us to serve him. He gives you a choice. That's why you have what we have in the world today, because of our choices. God says, you can choose life. That's up to you. You choose, and so whatever you choose, I respect your choice. And that also goes for a lot of people don't like to talk about homosexuality and all that, but to me it's a choice, because if you're in a consensual relationship, you're choosing to have intercourse with the same sex. It's a choice. So whether you think you're born that way or not, it's, that's your choice and belief. But I didn't choose to be brown. I didn't choose to be, of African descent. That was chosen for me. But I respect a person's choice. I can't tell you that your choice, is wrong. I might not like your choice. I don't have to accept it as my truth. But I accept that you made a choice, and I'm okay with your choice. It doesn't have to be my truth, and I don't have to live by your choice, just like you don't have to live by mine, So, that's how I feel about that, and I appreciate you asking. It's pretty good. So, well, thank you, Lena. That's refreshing for me to hear that you agree. But we're talking about the equality of men and women. Let's talk about the physical strength. We were talking about Adam and Eve when Eve partook of the fruit. When Eve partook of the fruit, nothing happened right away. It was when Adam partook that, God says, hey, Adam. He didn't even call Eve. He was calling Adam. He was like, hey, yo, Adam, where you at? I'm paraphrasing again. That's just how I look at the Bible, as if I was talking. I'm from Alabama, so, But he was coming through. He didn't say, Eve, where you at? He saw what happened. He didn't say, Eve. Hey, yo, Eve. He was like, Adam. Hey, yo, Adam. Where you at, dude? He talked to Adam. He talked to the authority, the one he had put in charge. He talked to the person that he had given the commandment to. God didn't give the command to Eve. He gave it to Adam, and Adam gave it to Eve. So in a sense, when the serpent came to Eve, she was also, not only was he challenging her, belief, to see her authority with God, she was really challenging her authority with her husband, because it was her husband who gave her the word. It was Adam who said, everything in this garden we can eat, but that right there, we got to stay away from that. Because the day we fool with that thing right there, over. So when the serpent came to her and was like, did God really say that? He didn't say, did Adam really say that? He said, did God really say that? So he was saying that Adam told you that? Come on now. Did God say that? Or did Adam say that to you just to keep you from eating that? What really happened? So it was him trying to get her to challenge Adam's authority. So that's one reason why I believe that men and women aren't equal. Also, our physical abilities. Our bodies are different. Men can handle things that women can't. Though we might build up our strength and say, I can lift 200 pounds just like you can. Why is it that men can't carry children? You think about things like that. Why is it that and if you have, I've had 4, okay? So that is not an easy thing to do for 9 months, to carry a baby when your body is changing in so many different ways. Your feet swell, everything goes in array. Men, think about during that time, what's happening to the man? When you're pregnant with his seed, it's like he might put on a few sympathy pounds, but nothing's happening to his body. The only physical changes that a man go through might be the deterioration of his body. He might not be able to reproduce. because of a situation or another. Oh, that's a good point right there. Let me pose this question to you when it comes to being equal. A woman can only reproduce once a month. A man can reproduce every day. Every day. Several times a day. As long as he's able to regenerate those seeds, he can reproduce. We can only reproduce once a month, sometimes twice, depending on your menstrual cycle. Once a month, we can reproduce. A man can do it every day, several times a day. Also, as women, there's an age where we stop being able to reproduce. Men, to the day they die, they can just keep having children, planting seeds until the day they die. We're not equal in that area. So, in the sense of our ability as authority figures, as physical body strength, and our ability to reproduce, we're different. We're not equal. You know, you think about how we think mentally. Men think different from women. We just do. We're not the same. We're emotional. We're caring. We're loving. We're nurturers. Men are providers and protectors. When you think about war, now there are female warriors, but when you think about war, who's doing the fighting? You know, excuse me, who's doing the fighting? Who? And even in the Bible, how many women actually went to war in the Bible? If you want to look at it from a biblical stance, how many tribes of women went to war? You know, there was always the men that were at war and the women stayed home, or they did their part from home. They still had to nurture the seed that was growing. You know, the seed that has been produced, it's in the earth. They still have to nurture those seeds. Children need love. Fathers are usually more stern, more direct. Mothers are more caring, loving. They're more attentive. You know, I talk to my female friends who are married and who have children. Not everyone is married, and that's fine. I'm not married anymore. But most women, we think that the husbands never do enough with the children, and that, you know, when they do have the children, they mess everything. They give them the wildest things. They let them have things to be like, why you even do that? They don't get candy in the middle of the day. Are you crazy? You know, we look at the parenting thing from different perspectives. You know, with my ex, I thought, you're not spending enough time with them. You know, I'm here all the time. I wanted to see him interact like I interacted with them. You know, that was my idea. And so in my mind, he doesn't care enough because he doesn't do it like I do it. But he was the provider. You know, he was doing his best to make sure everybody has clothes, everybody has food. You know, we're not lacking in any area. Those were the things that he was concerned about. He wasn't so much concerned about, you know, kissing them and you know, when they get a boo-boo, putting a Band-Aid on it, making it all cute, you know. He wasn't concerned about that, but I was. And I thought, man, he's a terrible father, because I looked at it from my perspective and my perspective only. You know, so in that sense, we're different. So, you know, I know lots of people want to say that we're equal, but we're not. We just physically, we're not equal. I was in a sociology class a couple of years ago, and we were talking about this very subject. And the question was posed that whoever makes the most money is the authority figure in the house. Well, I say, well, I beg to differ. Okay, mister, if your wife makes $100,000 and you make 50, and you're out together and somebody tries to jump you, are you going to stand back and say, hey, yo, you make all the money, you can handle it? You going to leave your girl out like that? You the authority figure. You got this, boo. I'm going to sit here and eat my cake. You doing pretty good, baby. You got him. Are you going to do that? You know, no, as a man, you want to protect your woman, no matter how much money she makes. So to say that because she makes more money, she gets to make all the decisions is crazy. You know, it's a partnership. But I understand my role in the partnership. I understand that if the car breaks down, though I may know how to fix it, you know, that's maybe something he can take on. You know, as a man of the house, you know, he wants to make sure I can get to where I go. And if somebody was to come and pose a threat to our safety, what do I look like trying to, you know, jump out in front and say, I got this, honey, you know, making him, we don't allow them to be men. He's a man. Let him be a man. You know, give him the opportunity. Now, if he backs down, then you handle business, then say, you take him by the hand and say, we got to talk. Because men need the opportunity to be men and feel like men. Okay? So I think I've been ranting enough tonight. I just really wanted to get that off my chest about that pastor giving that terrible advice to this woman. And I'm certain she got her answer from God. She just did. It wasn't what she wanted to hear. So she went out looking for a second opinion and she got it. Now her marriage, if she does that, if she follows the advice of that pastor, she is putting her relationship in jeopardy because mentally she's already in rebellion. You know, mentally and in her heart, she's just looking for a cosigner. Thank you. Thank you. If you go to, I forgot to put catch. I'm going to have to redo this because, you can go to catch.me and, it saves the broadcast. I hope I can save this because this was good to me too. You know, thank you for following me. Usually I'm in bed. Well, no, not really in bed by now, but, I'm up writing or, I talk a lot about in my videos about young women, and I talk to young women about setting a standard for yourself and upholding that standard. And I use the example of a brand new coat. Like if you go to Macy's or wherever you shop and you see a $200 coat, right? It's worth that because the material, how it's made, the manufacturer, and even the name brand. But if yes, I write. I do write. But if you put on because of the coat, it's worth $200 when it first comes off the assembly line, the name brand, or whatever it is. But after that coat's been tried on several times, the value goes down. And the same thing with a car. You can buy a brand new Mercedes, but after that Mercedes have 100,000 miles on it, are you going to pay the same price for it as if you would if it was new? And the moral of the story is, don't let somebody use you up to the point where your value goes down. And, you know, you have to set a standard for yourself. You think about yourself. What am I worth? What am I worth to me? And I just feel like women, too often, we give ourselves away for little or nothing. You know, I call it courtesy. Let me see. I'm trying to look for a good word for it. Father, forgive me if this is the wrong word, but I call it courtesy coochie. You know, we tend to give out courtesy coochie to people without realizing our worth. You know, we don't get anything out of it, but wet and lonely. You know, we have to think, what is this worth it? Is it worth it for me to devalue myself so somebody can lay up with me and on me for a few minutes and then roll out? You know, perhaps this will be a relationship. Maybe it won't. So thanks for following me. I really enjoyed talking to you tonight. I was really expecting no one this time of night, but thank you so much. And if you don't mind sharing me with your friends and family, you know, Twitter, Facebook, however you can share me, I'd really appreciate it. And I'm going to start trying to come on at certain times of night, you know, sometimes I know it won't be the exact time, but I have so many subjects and topics specifically for women because I want us to be strong and confident in ourselves. Like we are the carriers of the seed. You know, the earth needs us. we are needed. We are needed. And we need to know what our worth is in the earth, and value ourselves, and stop valuing women who may have money, but they have low self-esteem. You know, the women on TV who they might date the rapper, they might date the basketball player, but their worth is less than the used car. You know, they're worn out and loose. You know, we don't want our daughters to think that's the way that they should grow up and be, to idolize women like that. So thank you, dear, for hanging out with me tonight. I really, really, really appreciate you. I really do. Thank you so much. And hopefully next time I'm on, we could get to chat a little bit more. Where are you from, if you don't mind? I live in Texas, so this been here for 11 years now. What? Wow! Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm so impressed. Thank you. But that is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you again. I really appreciate your time. I really do. And just look out for me. I'll be talking about more things, and I will definitely look out for your name so I can communicate with you. And I guess I'll get ready for bed. So blessed to have met you. I hope you have a brilliant night and day. Sending love. Thank you. You are beautiful. You are wonderful. You are creative. You are loved. You are awesome, and you are needed. So you have a wonderful day. It's probably Saturday over there already. Later in the day, but you take care, and much love and blessings, and you have a good night.